First, there is the fact that he is not of English or Scots or Anglo-Saxon origin. He is from a different race, namely he's of Indian descent, and that's visible. He's brown-skinned in a country where perhaps 85% of the population are white. And that's really something which is remarkable, to have a person of this kind of background becoming Prime Minister of Britain. The fact that the British have outgrown their own centuries of racial discrimination, which they practiced in their colonies during their empire, is a remarkable development. I would say the second significant thing is that his religion is also different. In England, there is an established church. It's the Anglican Christian Church, which is the official religion of the state. Even though they are otherwise a secular government, there is an official religion. Rishi Sunak doesn't practice that. He's an overtly practicing Hindu. He took his oath as Chancellor of the Exchequer on the Bhagavad Gita. He'll probably presumably do the same thing as Prime Minister. He is somebody who has publicly, even when he was campaigning for the leadership of the Conservative Party, he tweeted pictures of himself performing a Gau Puja. He tweeted pictures of himself praying to Lord Krishna on Janmashtami. This is a man who is completely public about his Hinduism in a country where this has never been seen in a prime minister before. It's always been Christian. Even Disraeli, of Jewish origin, was Christian when he became prime minister. And somebody pointed out that recently in the Queen's funeral, the then Prime Minister Liz Truss read out from the Bible. Will Rishi Sunak do that, they asked. And my answer is, if he's the kind of Hindu that most of us are in India, he would have no problem reading the sacred texts of other faiths, because we Hindus are brought up to respect all faiths. So I think he would do that, but I'm just saying it's still a very unusual thing for the British to overlook. The third factor is his age. He only became an MP for the first time in 2015. Within 5 years, he'd become Finance Minister, Chancellor of the Exchequer, and within 7 years, he's Prime Minister. It's an astonishing growth, and I was just thinking that in India, a 42-year-old MP with 7 years' experience would be lucky even to be an MOS. That's our country. So you can see that for Britain, they have outgrown their racism. They have shown a tremendous willingness to absorb and admit people of other religious faiths. And on top of that, they have looked at merit and not age or experience in deciding that he was the right man at a time of economic crisis, somebody with the right financial background and experience, who did a good job as Chancellor of the Exchequer during the COVID pandemic. And they said he's a safe pair of hands to steer the British economy through these difficult times. Merit and ability seem to have been the only criteria for the Conservative MPs who elected him to be their leader. And all of these are lessons for us in India. I would say that we should ourselves be prepared to look beyond some of the considerations of caste and religion and class and language and region and all these things, and recognize that what the country should always reward is merit. Look, Rishi Sunak is a Brit. He is Prime Minister of Britain. His job is going to be to protect and promote the national interest of Britain. I think it would be wrong of us to expect anything else, and it would be foolish of him as a British Prime Minister to give any particular concessions to India merely because his grandparents were born in undivided India. I mean, the fact is that he has obviously an affinity for many things Indian. He's married an Indian citizen. His in-laws are the Narayanamurthis. He has all of these connections, but he is still British, and we should not expect anything else. I would say that, for example, one of the pending issues before his desk will be the Indo-British trade agreement. He will negotiate with Britain's interests in mind. We must negotiate with our interests in mind. Would he be more prepared to make concessions? I don't know, but I would certainly not believe we are entitled to expect it because he happens to be of Indian origin. What I think we can say, as Prime Minister Modi has said, is that there are some affinities that should make the dialogue very easy and perhaps even affectionate between them. But we've also had very good, warm relations with white British Prime Ministers in the past. Look how friendly Boris Johnson was when he was Prime Minister. So let us not assume any special favours out of Britain, and nor, I think, will an Indian origin Prime Minister want to be seen by the British public. We must, as Indians, look after India's own interests ourselves.